All right, we are now in Matthew chapter 5 and verse 6, which I didn't get there yet, which is the fourth beatitude, and it says, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled." The fourth statement of Jesus here of the people who are really blessed, and really the description of Jesus' people. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. That's what we're talking about. You're blessed when you hunger and thirst for righteousness. When you hunger and thirst for something, of course, the natural thing to do is to chase it down. You want to get it. If you are hungry, you go try to find food. You try to go buy it, get to the fridge, and if you're obviously in a place with no food, it becomes harder. But you're hungry, you're thirsty, and that's what you're after, and you're chasing it down. And what we're chasing down says a lot about where our heart's at, because it shows what we're really hungry for. And Jesus says we're blessed if we hunger and thirst for righteousness. And people hunger for a lot of other things in this world. The list that I put together really quick was the hunger for money, the hunger for fame, for sex, power, friendships, toys, relationships, adrenaline rushes, entertainment. We live in a world that is obvious that people are hungering and thirsting and chasing after a ton of things. But Jesus tells us we're blessed when we crave righteousness. And what's it mean to crave righteousness? Can refer to a couple things. In one sense, righteousness can refer to a right standing with God. That you have a good, upstanding relationship with God. You know what? A criminal doesn't have a righteous standing with a judge. They are obviously in a bad standing. And so righteousness can refer to that, but it also refers to a kind of life, obviously. So in the first sense, you're blessed when you hunger and thirst for a good standing with God. And that's, I think, one of the most valuable things you can desire, because if you can get that, it's arguably the most valuable thing you could ever possess. And the second thing, the right kind of life, we're blessed when we want to be in line with God. We want to live the way God's asked us to. We want to live in love for God and love for people. So righteousness, I think, can touch both of those areas. We're hungry and thirsty to have a good standing with God. We're hungry and thirsty to not be messed up people who treat God bad and treat others bad. So are you hungry and thirsty for those things? Again, if you're a believer, this should be an active thing in your life. Something that needs to grow, I'm sure. But now something that comes to mind, sometimes we can agree with, man, I know I should be hungry and thirsty for that. I know I should want that, but I'm not. And it's good to be honest, because you never get anywhere if you're not being honest with yourself. But what do we do if we're not hungry and thirsty for God? What do we do if we're not hungry and thirsty to know Him, to live like Him, to have a relationship with Him? And, something that just makes a ton of sense to me is this. You remember when you were a kid and your parents would say, "Don't spoil your dinner." And when my parents said it to me, what they meant was, you can't have all this candy and snacks right now because we're going to eat dinner in a while, and by the time you get to dinner, you're already going to be full on all this other stuff that's not even that good for you. And then you're not even going to be hungry enough to eat what you really need to eat, the stuff that's good for you. And to me, that becomes the perfect lesson in this is, if we're not hungering and thirsting for the right things, it's probably because we're full on other things. You know, that we have ourselves so full of all these other things that some of them might be bad, some of them might not be bad in and of themselves, but they're not the best thing. But we're so full on them that we, you don't have any time to crave God. You don't have any time to sit and realize where you're at with God and who you are and what's really. I believe it's one of the biggest traps of living in the kind of culture we live in the Western world is we're so busy and so occupied and so blessed. We have so many things to distract us and keep us busy, and sometimes we have no hunger for the things that really matter because we're so full on other stuff that we don't even take time to stop and think. And so with that, obviously, my recommendation to you is this: if you know you're not hungry for God, whether you've never started a relationship with God and you know you should want to care about where you stand with God, but you don't, or whether you're the person who you have started a relationship with God, but you know that hunger isn't there like it has been in the past, to know God and to grow in God, obviously, like we tell our kids, don't spoil your dinner. You need to stop filling your life with all this stuff that has you so full you can't crave what's best for you. And in a very practical way, that means you need to start shutting off your TV. You need to start getting off the internet. You need to start maybe not being such a social butterfly constantly. All these things, again, some of them are bad. Bad things should be stopped 100%. Things that are fine, but they're still spoiling our dinner, need to be cut way back. You know what I mean? I can't watch much TV. I can't be on the internet all the time. I can't just be with my friends every moment I have because I need to be alone. And that's an awkward feeling to some of us because we live in such a go society that when you sit alone and you have no music, it's like a naked feeling. But in those moments, that's where we need to learn to talk to God, to read the Bible and see what He has to say. And that's my encouragement to you. Start shutting some of the stuff off and get alone with God, with the Bible. Read the Bible. Talk to God. It may feel awkward at first. But in my experience, when I do that, the right hungers begin to reemerge. I begin to hunger and thirst for righteousness. And I'm always thinking, in the long run, what took me so long to stop filling myself with all this stuff that just kind of lets me down, instead of filling myself with a relationship with God. You're blessed if you hunger and thirst for righteousness. And the cool promise is they shall be filled. We'll talk about that next time. Obviously, guys, if you're watching this, information, even biblical information, is very valuable, but it's not enough. It's not enough to get the concept in your head and say, yeah, I agree, and that's good, maybe I'll work on that someday. You need to take plans today to cut back on some things and make time to go get alone with God and ask Him to restore right hungers in you. And if you don't know God, ask Him to show you His need to know Him. You may be in a very scary place and not even know it because you're so full on everything. So we'll talk about the filling next time. God bless you guys.